So this high-level panel 1 is going to consider the sea basin strategies as key enablers for the sustainable blue economy. And the distinguished high-level panelists are going to reflect on sea basin strategies which have contributed to the EU's sustainable blue economy so far. Plus, look ahead to the challenges so far. So it will be in 2 parts. There will be a reflective part, and then looking forward to the challenges and future prospects as well. The panel will be moderated by Charlina Vladimirova Vitcheva, our Director General, who, as I invite to the stage, I would like to show this video on the strategies. So also as new people come in and settle down, we'll have this nice video to kickstart the discussions also. So please, the video.
The blue economy has become a flourishing sector in the EU in recent years. To promote an innovative, competitive and inclusive blue economy, the European Commission supports regional cooperation between relevant actors in EU and non-EU countries through 3 sea basin strategies in the Atlantic, Black Sea and Western Mediterranean. The sea basin strategies consider each region's specific conditions, opportunities and challenges to best develop a strong, sustainable blue economy through key elements such as circularity, innovation and resilience, and blue investment, among others. In 2022, the European Commission launched a common assistance mechanism for the 3 sea basins to foster synergies and improve coordination. A team of more than 40 experts in 17 countries facilitates the identification and definition of shared priorities, fosters good practice sharing, and promotes joint projects and activities among blue economy stakeholders. Some examples of concrete achievements so far are supporting the countries in the preparation of the ministerial declarations in the WestMed and the Atlantic Sea Basins, launching technical groups of experts identifying relevant needs and project support in the WestMed and Black Sea, nurturing 58 project ideas across sea basins by aiding conceptualization and consortium building, and building a thriving sustainable blue economy community through events and networking channels. Visit our website and connect with the national hubs in your country.
Good morning again. It's always stronger message when it's visualized, so it structured our panel very well. Warm welcome to everyone to the first plenary session that we have on our program. It is dedicated to sea basin strategies. And I'm really happy to introduce our very distinguished panelists for today. So I invite them on stage. So we start with Andreas Nordseth. Please join us, Director General of the Danish Maritime Authority. And Andreas. Andreas is going to guide us through the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative. Then we have the Director General for Maritime Affairs, Fisheries and Aquaculture of France, Eric Banel. And he will address the Atlantic strategy, but also the role and views of France in the North Sea Initiative. Actually, France is in a web work of strategies, sea basin strategies. Then we have Marisa Lameiras da Silva, Director General for Maritime Policy, Portugal. She will focus on the WestMed and on Portugal's previous role as chair of the Atlantic strategy. And then we have our guest from Moldova, Grigore Stratulat. State Secretary in the Moldova's Ministry for Environment, and he's going to address to us the achievements of the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea and the plans of Moldova as the chair of this Common Maritime Agenda for 2024. So, dear panelists, together we have achieved a lot, and we are now having a mature stage to discuss about our sea basin strategies. I will start with the 2021 approach for sustainable blue economy that we launched as European Commission in 2021. That was a communication that is still our guiding light in how to approach the topic. The sea basin strategies have helped with being strategic, but not only having a vision, but also going to very concrete joint projects. Probably to start with the WestMed initiative, it set up several technical groups already on sustainable aquaculture, on green shipping, and most recently, sustainable tourism. This allows for a very active dialogue and exchange of views of everybody that is part of the sea basin. And as I've said, concrete projects are in the pipeline. This strategy creates a sense of ownership and deepens the cooperation not only between the EU member states that are bordering this sea basin, but also non-EU countries in the Western Mediterranean. We launched the ministerial declaration last year. It was launched in Malta. I had the privilege to be there. There was a lot of energy there for doing more, but also reflection of how much we have achieved. So we are genuinely willing to go ahead and to find our next common way forward. And that is not just good for Europe, but we really aspire to have good, to make good for the overall basin, also for the non-EU member states. Last year, we also produced a new ministerial declaration for the Atlantic strategy, which was centered around decarbonization, offshore renewable energy, and more. The EU Atlantic countries are working for another objective of ours, the energy transition in the maritime sector, by increasing knowledge and by developing innovative technologies for vessels and port infrastructure. And of course, they bring us closer to the goals of the European Green Deal. I was really happy to hear from, not only from our political masters, but also from the mayor of Svendborg, that the Green Deal is there and it is our guiding strategy to be sustainable. The youngest of the three established strategies is the Common Maritime Agenda. It sets up concrete collaboration on maritime affairs in the Black Sea, and it keeps up despite the geopolitical challenges in the region. Moldova is the coordinator this year and has a very ambitious roadmap of priorities, focusing on promoting funding opportunities for the blue economy. Much effort has been put in promoting investments in innovative and high-tech startups, also in collaboration with Blue Invest Initiative. This is obviously crucial, as projects and initiatives can only develop and evolve if supported by investments and funding. And I experienced myself last time when we had the annual meeting of the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea. It was in Bucharest because Romania was the previous chair, and we had for the first time a joint event of the Common Maritime Agenda and Blue Invest, and it turned out to be extremely successful. So I'm looking forward to the same combination this year. We had a number of challenges. They were outlined also by my commissioner. I have to admit that in 2020, when I joined DG MARE, I had to jump immediately into Brexit negotiations. It still impacts, especially our northern maritime zone, but also the pandemic, the war in Ukraine. But these challenges actually didn't stop us working. There is so much to report in terms of achievements, and not only, I think that we managed to scale up to a new level of maturity, and this is what we are going to see today with our distinguished panelists, and that actually brought the way forward to the newest one, the Greater North Sea Basin Initiative. I'm fully supportive personally, but also the European Commission. We've been working together with the member states that initiated, that was France and the Netherlands, but now many more EU member states are part of it. We have the UK and Norway that are aspiring to be part of it. That is a signal of success. I believe it may well become a corner piece of our blue economy puzzle in the northern part of our maritime zone. But enough from me. Now we turn to our distinguished panelists, and I'm joining them down there at the table. So, dear colleagues, my first question will be how you see the achievements, and probably for the newest one, aspirations for the future. And probably I will start with Eric. You can choose how you can line up the achievements, because as I said, France is really a major stakeholder of many of these strategies. So Eric, go ahead.
Thanks a lot, Charlina, and hello everybody. So France is a member of 3 of these initiatives, not yet a member of the Black Sea one, you never know. The first asset of these sea basin initiatives, and the first and the big one, is to create a platform of cooperation to build trust between stakeholders. And so I would say that it's the beginning, to create a platform of dialogue and trust, to be able to share good practices, to be able to speak and to organize dialogue with each other, and to, of course, carry on projects together. So this is the key, the first asset of these sea basin initiatives. To ensure it is successful, we need several recipes. The first one is to bring political support on board. And it's not the easiest one, because when we are speaking about strategies, most of our political leaders think, wow, it's a bit abstract, it's not concrete, we don't know where we go, and we don't know how useful it is. So to bring political support on board, we need also to operationalize, to make them concrete. And so that's one of the big priorities of the French presidency of the Maritime Atlantic strategy, is to make it more concrete, more operational, and to choose the subjects on which it will be seen as visible and as useful for the stakeholders. The third key to the success is to ensure a proper financing. And on this, we rely a lot on the European Commission, but we need also to organize the different funds available and to make them available for the stakeholders. So to orientate and to make it also useful for the different stakeholders, for the collectivities, for the territorial actors. And so that's sometimes like a jungle, and people need to be orientated in this. So for the maritime strategy, for the Atlantic Maritime Strategy, if I put it in a couple words, our priorities is first to choose the subjects, and as I said, to choose concrete subjects on which we are working. So we chose, with the support of the Portuguese, because it was the Portuguese presidency before us, we chose the ports. So we had to develop a concrete project on ports called APAB, with the idea of creating synergy between ports and blue hubs. And this is very concrete also, and bringing stakeholders together. The second example I will give is blue skills, and blue skills on emerging sectors, because we could see that there was a strong need on this. And so this was also what we call this MATES, a project which developed with our counterparts. So first, making this concrete, operationalizing. So we are doing it as part of the French presidency agenda. The second thing is to bring stakeholders together and to do it on a bottom-up and transversal basis. So we will organize a big event in Bordeaux in November, bringing up all the stakeholders and all the local authorities. And we will invite also the other initiatives, GNSBI, we will invite also WestMed, and we will invite also the Black Sea. And I guess it will be also very important to share all this with the different initiatives. And through this, we want also, and beyond the stakeholders, to develop synergies and cooperation between the different initiatives. And again, it's not only to be able to organize dialogue between them, it's to choose the subjects on which we will identify really close cooperation. And we do it actually right now with WestMed, and we are doing it on decarbonization. So this is also a concrete example on which we identify the need from the stakeholders and from the local authorities to work together and on a cross-sectorial approach. And then to finish on this, we want also to, because we've got Sea Basin approach, to bring on board the ones that are left aside right now. And if I look at the Atlantic Maritime Strategy, I'm looking at the UK, or towards the UK. And so we are looking to them and we are trying to bring them again on board, because they were on board and they left. With Charlina, we have a lot of experience about Brexit. And so we, if we want this Sea Basin strategy to be useful, again, we have to encompass all the actors and all the states around. And so we are looking towards them. We are looking also towards Norway, but to a lesser extent. And the idea is really to build trust and to organize dialogue with them. So the idea, finally, of this agenda for the French Atlantic Maritime Strategy Presidency is to bring new vision, new agenda for the Atlantic Maritime Strategy, to build trust between the actors, but to build also a prosperous and resilient blue economy. This is the aim. This is, as you said, our hope and our ambition. So we are doing closely with the Commission, and we really want to prepare the future of other initiatives. And what we are doing with GNSBI is also a good example of what we are doing elsewhere and beyond what exists today.
Thank you very much, Eric. I really noted down this huge event that you're preparing for Bordeaux. It is essential that not only that we work together within a basin, but also to share practices and good practices and experiences across sea basins. Excellent initiative. Next on the achievements and aspirations will be Marisa. So what are you going to share with us, Marisa?
Hello, good morning to everyone. First of all, let me tell you that on behalf of Secretary of State for Maritime Policy of Portugal, to thank the kind invitation to be part of his high-level session and to say hello to my colleagues. It's a pleasure, it's an honor to be here. And second, I want to highlight that last year in Brest, the Black Sea Common Maritime Agenda, the Atlantic Strategy and the WestMed initiative discussed the potential of having synergies between sea basin. And I'm glad that this discussion that was in the parallel session now is in the main room. So this is something, this means something. This means that we are creating strategies for the sea basins and we are making some goals and some objectives that is important for each sea basin. So currently, Portugal is the co-president of the WestMed initiative. I don't know if everyone knows, but this is an initiative that is the goal of unlock the potential of the blue economy. And we have 10 countries, 5 from Europe, Portugal, Spain, Italy, Malta, and France, and 5 from the north of Africa, Mauritania, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya. So it was launched in 2017, and with, like I said, the goal of unlock the potential of the blue economy. This brings bridge between the north of Europe and the south of Africa. And the objective is to put all the Mediterranean regions and countries to work together and to have regional cooperation as a pilot to the whole sea basin. So currently, the WestMed initiative supports a lot of projects and also connect all the partners and stakeholders. We have more than 100 project ideas from different stakeholders, and we have support more than 40 projects that have been approved and funded from different kind of mechanisms, and more than 55 million euros. From my perspective, the collaboration is the main instrument that we have here, and to engage different actors in these different players. But we have to highlight another thing, the clusters. This is a good practice. So the countries, the European countries already have clusters, maritime clusters, and this is a model that works. And the good news, this model is being replicated to other countries. Right now, we know that Tunisia and Algeria have blue economy clusters, and Libya is exploring right now the opportunity to also have this, and we are working also with different countries to help them to create these blue economy countries, and also Morocco is working on this kind of model. So on the other hand, I think, and my colleague already said, Portugal, Spain, and France have the advantage of being on two different sea basins. And this is advantage because we can speak more how can we put these sea basin strategies working in a more collaborative way. So this is a really advantage, and we are taking advantage of these advantages. I'm sorry. So to conclude, since it was launched, WestMed initiative reveals that is a very important instrumental way of cooperation between the different countries, and I believe that this work will give some results in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Marisa. Now we will go to the youngest one of our strategies, the Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea. So, Grigore, over to you. Also to share some plans of what we're going to see in 2024.
I'll try to do my best. Thank you, dear friends. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for promoting me to the Ministry for Environment, which is really a pleasure. I left the State Secretary Moldova, and here I'm a minister already. Don't mention it to my colleagues at home, because I don't know what makes me there. Thanks a lot. And I'm honored to represent here the Common Maritime Agenda. So I think we are the only country representing sea basin strategies that are landlocked. So yeah, that's special about Moldova. But I'm honored to represent Common Maritime Agenda. I'm honored to represent EU member countries who are members of the CMA. I'm honored to represent candidate countries. And I think this makes Common Maritime Agenda for the Black Sea interesting, because it brings together countries that are sharing the same sense of community, collaboration, and shared purpose. And I would like to mention, of course, Romania, Ukraine, Bulgaria, Turkey, Georgia. Nevertheless, Black Sea is also shared by Russian Federation. Nevertheless, in response to Russia's unprovoked and unjustified military aggression against Ukraine, the participation of the Russian Federation in the CMA has been suspended, as well as all forms of cooperation at regional and national level with Russian stakeholders. I do hope for Ukraine, because hoping for Ukraine is hoping for Moldova as well, is hoping for the Common Maritime Agenda. Thank you. You just mentioned that CMA is the youngest organization, yet there are a lot of things that have been achieved. I would like to mention that we have already identified more than 30 projects in the Black Sea. And the success stories, and I would like to mention here, I'd like to quote, is the 4Bs boosting the blue economy in the Black Sea region, which is a platform that is initiating a business collaboration framework in the field of fisheries and aquaculture, coastal and maritime tourism, and maritime transport. I would like to mention here ISOL-MET, Innovative Soft Skills to Maritime Education and Training, which is a project designed to bridge the gap between soft skills and competences required for the workforce in the shipping industry sector. And as well, I would like to mention DBAN, Nurturing a Sustainable and Digitalized Blue Economy in the Black Sea region. DBAN is a network that seeks to enable the development of competitive, innovative, and sustainable blue economy in the region. So it supports small and medium-sized enterprises and other business initiatives in the blue economy sectors, building on their potential for innovation, circular and bio-based solution, as well as their contribution to the local and regional development. For 2024, we have put together, I believe, a solid yet challenging agenda, and the tasks or and so the topics that we will focus on in 2024 include addressing marine and riverine pollution and plastic litter, which is crucial for the health of our oceans, rivers, and the entire ecosystem. And here, I think, we as Moldova can play a role because we have two rivers that are flowing down to Danube and Black Sea. And of course, if we do something with the pollution up the stream, we can help the Black Sea down the stream. Another initiative is the Green Ports, Innovative Transport and Infrastructure, Inland and Maritime, which plays a pivotal role in advancing sustainability goals and mitigating environmental impacts. We want to boost marine and coastal environmental knowledge for effective environmental monitoring and observation. And of course, which is very important, which comes across all the sectors, is you also mentioned the improve access to financial resources, funding opportunities, and promote sustainable investment in the blue economy, because whatever activities you do, you need money, you need funds, you need people to know about it, and it's better to bring them all together for accessing the finances to support and finance what we really need in this sustainable, creating blue economy, climate change agenda, etc. Of course, we also will focus on supporting sustainable fisheries and aquaculture in the region. So all that we are trying to do by exchanging insights, data, and best practices. There is a technical group created within CMA on aquaculture and tourism. We are seeking having joining projects and initiatives. We look at participating in multilateral platforms and forums, collaborations with other sea basin strategies, and of course with all the stakeholders from the neighboring maritime regions. Thanks a lot. That would be all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we go back to our hosts. So, Andreas, how do you see the newest or the newly born or to be born? So I don't know how to qualify the initiative.
Yeah, so if that was the youngest one, I will be the baby. Then, so, okay.
Yes, so yeah. Andreas, over to you.
Thank you very much. And first of all, as one of the co-hosts, a big warm welcome to everyone, and thank you for coming here, and thank you to the Commission and also especially the city of Svendborg for hosting. And I think also we should give a very big thank you to CMARE in this magnificent Maritime Academy, and I think you should give them a hand because they work very hard to facilitate it. Coming to the North Sea Basin Initiative, I think that a lot has been going on already, and the target has been set that we're going to have a strong green transition. We need much more renewable energy, and the sea basin is definitely one of the places where we're going to have a lot of activities in terms of wind turbines, etc. But when you start to think of it, actually it's not just about wind turbines. There's so much else that comes into place. And at the same time, we are living at a backdrop of an increased awareness of the need for sustainability. I think the mayor also addressed in his speech the need for becoming much more protective of the oceans and these things. So there's so many, you could say, factors in the equation now when we talk about activities on the seabed. That simply needs a completely different coordinated approach than we ever had before. And I think that there's already, amongst the North Sea countries, there's been an awareness of this. So we have actually already have some cooperative mechanisms. But if you also think about how much is going to happen in the future, then time is really ripe now to have a strategy that will connect the dots, set a direction as to where we're heading. How do we then, that we both want to generate green transition, we want to generate blue economy, but also that we want to do it in a sustainable manner, all these things. So we need to have a direction that we all sort of can have a common approach or a common goal to pursue. And then this strategy we welcome it because it will also form a framework for a better, more structured cooperation between the countries. And then we should not forget also that when we talk about blue economy and we also talk about the need for development of new technologies, entrepreneurs are really, really totally decisive for achieving our goals. We know how to build wind turbines, but we have no clue on how to actually utilize digital technologies. In terms of you were mentioning a digital twin for the ocean, a fantastic initiative. But we still need entrepreneurs to see how can we utilize that? How can that generate even a better green transition, more blue economy, all these things. So my point is that the strategy will also provide a framework where we can create incentives for entrepreneurs to actually go into different kind of initiatives. And I think that's very important. So we look very much forward to have the strategy formalized. And I want to say thank you to France for expanding the North Sea down to France. We really appreciate that because then now we are sort of certain that everything will be connected. So thank you very much, Eric, for that. No, but I really mean it. It's well thought. But still, it's in the making. But I'm quite sure that we will, with this North Sea Basin Initiative, we will have a platform that will connect the dots, set a direction, and create a framework for cooperation and creating incentives for entrepreneurs to develop the needed technology for the future.
Thank you very much. So we've had our first round of reflection, and I would like now to go a bit fast in dynamics, and I would like you to really in 30 seconds, max 1 minute, to tell us what is your lesson learned from the experience so far, from the point of view of ambitions, needs, future. So what is the lesson learned for you? So who wants to start? Now it's voluntary. Marisa, go ahead, and then Eric.
Can I? May I? So, because Portugal was the chair last year of the Atlantic strategy, and this year is the co-chair of the WestMed initiative. So maybe a reflection. I really think this model of Sea Basin strategy is effective. So I think it's important to continue to work this and to start to make more effort to put these strategies working. But I also think that we need to work between different sea basins together. We need collaboration, and we need to make more synergies so that the big picture makes sense. I don't know if it's something, really think that we need to put every sea basins working together to have these dots connect. Thank you.
So the first lesson, reinforce our effort to connect the dots. I see that France is already doing that as well. Eric, what is your lesson learned?
First, I would like to thank Andreas for his inspiring presentation on GNSBI, because when you create something, and we did it last year in Paris with my Dutch colleague Jaap Slotmaker, you never know whether it will work or not. So when someone else does appropriate itself with this strategy, you see that it's successful. And I would like really to thank all the teams in the room, because they are working closely together to make it possible. So thanks a lot, and thanks to Denmark for supporting this initiative. And it will be the baby one, but I'm sure that it will become soon a teenager. Well, what I can see is that if I take the example of GNSBI, something you take for granted. For example, we organized 1 month ago a meeting between the 3 DGs of each country, which is quite tricky to organize, with DG Environment, DG Energy, and DG Fisheries, to have a full-scale exercise on marine spatial planning. You know, marine spatial planning is key in what we are doing. Why? Because we need to organize at sea our own activities and how the protection of the ocean are organized and can collaborate or cohabitate. And so marine spatial planning is for us really obvious. But when you gather ministers or DGs together, you may think that they integrate marine spatial planning from the beginning, but not at all. DG Energies are filling the sea with wind farms everywhere, DG Fisheries with fisheries everywhere, and of course DG Protection want to protect every kind of spaces or area at sea. And so it takes time to bring all this together and to make it true and real, to make it possible for organizing all this at sea. So marine spatial planning is a good practice that we all share, whatever the sea basin is, and we still have to work on that, and we still have to create a common culture behind that.
Thank you very much. So it's again connecting the dots, but having the impossible aspiration to bring silo departments working together. So that's not easy, never easy at any level, but we are bound to do it. So the ocean becomes smaller and smaller, so we have to take it serious. Who is next? Yeah. So go ahead.
One of the lessons learned is don't start a war against your neighbor, because you're gonna be kicked out of CMA. That's the first thing. That's another thing. What I would like to say is that lesson learned: we need to learn fast. We need to be better result oriented, because it will bring us more, let's say, attention, and it will bring us credibility. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Indeed, being concrete. This is not only a must of our political masters, because Eric was describing it very nicely. Our political masters are very pragmatic. If there is nothing to report, there is no result at the end visible, then they simply abandon. So concreteness, project-based, result-oriented. And Andreas, the last lesson learned?
Well, we don't have any lessons learned on the North Sea Basin Strategy yet, but we will have that. But I will say we have some lessons learned already when we're talking about activities on the ocean bed. And I think Eric was mentioning it, the maritime spatial planning plus is really, really important. And I have no doubt that we need to coordinate our work, and that also between the different basin strategies. A good example is that we can see now with the activities we're going to have on the Danish west coast in the North Sea, with all the wind power installations. We are going to regulate shipping traffic in a way we've never done before. But you know, that impacts immediately the English Channel, traffic going down to Germany, So we cannot do that in our own sort of bubble. We need to connect with the others. Same going north, we need to speak to Norway. It's just one simple example. And also when you think about different solutions, when we are moving further into creating secure systems to ensure resilience in our different installations on the ocean, nothing works in its own gobble. You cannot just have a national perspective. So I would say the most important thing is to ensure that all the practical solutions, whatever being mechanical, digital, or whatever, regulation, enforcement, whatever we do related to the ocean activities, it has to be very well coordinated with all the neighboring countries, and that actually then includes everybody. Yeah.
Thank you very much. That brings me actually to the idea that we need this culture of collaboration. It has to become inherent, you know, kind of almost as the first thing in your mind when you go for a sea basin strategy. Collaboration, coordination, it has to become the mantra. So it's in a way, I would not say a new culture, but really mentality for collaboration between topics, between basins, between stakeholders. I fully agree with the entrepreneurship, which is extremely important to be on board, otherwise we are not going to be concrete. So that was the first round of reflection. It was more looking back to the achievements, having lessons learned, and that brings us of what to expect from the future. So how do you see the future? How we are going to ensure that we are forward-looking in our aspirations for these type of strategies? But in order to answer this question, we have to shape the future a bit. So what is out there in terms of challenge? Because we as human beings are always oriented, so let's see the challenges and then how we're going to address them. So that is the future-oriented approach. And if we have to outline the challenges first, the first thing that comes to my mind as a broader picture is the geopolitics. It is not easy at all. So this is the overall frame in which we have to put our efforts in a structured manner. And lately we had quite a strange geopolitics where we have war at two ends of the European continent. So we have the common maritime agenda for the Black Sea that is directly affected to the extent that mines were floating down the Black Sea coast from Romania down to the Bulgarian coast. Maritime security coming to the fore. But also we have the Red Sea, the Middle East crisis, where we not only have invasive species now to the Mediterranean coming, but also we have the security issue with all its aspects coming from the Suez Channel. So geopolitics is there to be considered. So that is one challenge we have to reflect on, and probably that is one of the reasons why UK and Norway wants to be closer to us, and this was very much the message of their political hierarchy lately. But talking about geopolitics, it's immediately linked to routes, whether we are talking about maritime transport, whether we are talking about critical infrastructure related to what is laid on the seabed. Let's remind and recall 99% of digital data transfer happens under the sea. So if we have a failure of one of these cables, then it's a huge challenge, and it's related to the sea basin. We had a number of, and Denmark experienced the Nord Stream failure. So these are things that we have to consider. Another challenge was very much, and it recalls and it brings me to this, maritime spatial planning. So seas and ocean becomes smaller. They become smaller. So it is more and more congested space out there where we have to accommodate more and more economic endeavor. So maritime spatial planning is not good to have. It's a must have. And it has to be genuine. And talking about the North Sea, when I joined the DG MARE, I remember the Fisheries were furious because the North Sea is the first example of offshore wind and how scale-wise it can develop, even before the energy crisis. And when it was done without the fishers on board. Nobody asked them, and they were furious. So now, one of the lessons and one of the challenges for the future is how to integrate everyone so that maritime spatial planning becomes an ownership-based exercise, where we will have not just, boxes here, fisheries here, marine protected area here, maritime route. It needs to be based on multi-use and synergetic use. This is the best way. This is the clever and smart way. So that is the second challenge, space. I was listening to you as well about the skills and training. Eric was quite much on board this. So how are we going to do the skills deficiency? How are we going to address it? And in a very dynamic world where we have technology after technology coming to maturity, we have to catch up with skills, because the technology itself, it's good, but then implementation, turning it into entrepreneurial activity, it needs skills. So skills, reskilling, training, blue skills in general, another challenge. And then, of course, funding and investment, always there. So these are all challenges that are ahead of us, not mentioning the biggest one, which is climate change, environmental change, biodiversity challenge, or the triple challenge of the ocean. So my next round of questions will be future-oriented, turning around the challenges and how to address them in the various sea basin strategies. Who wants to start on that? Eric, I see you, ready to jump.
Thank you, Charlina. As for the Atlantic Maritime Strategy, we are launching the rebuilding of our plan. We've got an action plan, which is ending in 2025, and so we are turning towards the future and to rebuild it with all our colleagues. And actually, the motto of the French presidency is navigating towards a blue economy. So we want really to have everyone on board, and we want to do it, and that's the reason why we organize this big conference in Bordeaux in November. We want to do it with all the sea basins around us. So even the North Sea, we come to Bordeaux. We could have chosen Dunkirk on the French North Sea, but to build the future, I guess we need light and good wine. So that's two main reasons to go to Bordeaux. So we'll do it with everyone on board, and we will do it with some key aspects. The first one is, as I said, to be as concrete as possible. We are doing it with WestMed right now, and I thank the Portuguese presidency on the carbonization. We are doing with GNSBI and Marine Spatial Planning. Maybe we could work with the Black Sea on aquaculture, because I heard you, and that's something on which we have to improve our cooperation. But we have also to be present where we are needed in the future. So we have to identify the key sectors on which we could work together. We spoke a bit about renewable energy. I can see that we are needed on this. We have to develop our cooperation on this sector, but also on innovation. Because decarbonization is linked with innovation. The scaling up of innovation is also a key issue for all of us. And I can see that we are really expected on that. So we have also to turn towards these emerging sectors on which we are expected. And when we say that, we speak about the cooperation between states, the cooperation between our policy, the cooperation between stakeholders, but we speak also about skills. Because new sectors mean new skills, transforming our training facilities, our academies here in Svendborg or elsewhere in Europe. So on this, it's also a core issue. I would like also to emphasize the need for knowledge. you said it, Charlina, knowledge, knowledge, knowledge. Wherever I see, wherever I look for, I see that we are needing for new knowledge, new science, new data. And then on this, we really have to be close together because we are facing, in fact, the same challenges, especially the loss of biodiversity, the climate change. And so we see that we need to improve our capacity of resilience and of facing with good knowledge of these challenges. And so, well, wherever you are, really the same challenge there. And last point, and I know that's not the easiest one, we need also clarification about funding. And so we need visibility for that and to work closely with the Commission, of course, to bring, and I know that it will be the case after 2028, to bring all these programs on board with us to be orientated towards the priorities we will have set up to this bright and blue economy future and to be able to go to the stakeholders, to the local authorities, to the companies and to the startups and say, well, there are the tools on which you can base your initiatives, and we will be helpful to you, and we'll be next to you, we will accompany you, because we will have the good financial tools. So financing is also a key part of the success for the future.
Thank you, Rick. So, Marisa.
My time.
If you want, you can start from the potential. I kind of transfix the challenges in the picture, but it's up to you to take the future.
Thank you so much. That is not an easy question. And I want to start with challenge, because in the WestMed initiative, we have a lot of challenge. And we are putting Europe speaking with the North of Africa, so we have a lot of challenge. We need to speak all the same language, and we need to speak about all these blue economy and sustainable blue economy. And this is really, really important. So, but it's not only challenge. In my point of view, this is an opportunity, like we said, to discuss collaboration, cooperation, collaboration, coordination, and cooperation. So I think these three words, like you said, need to be a mantra. We need to think on these three words and to follow the same goals. First of all, in each sea basin, and then bring these to all sea basins. So in the WestMed initiative, we are taking now the terms of reference for a new technical group regarding the sustainable coastal tourism. This was approved with every countries. The 10 countries agree to have this working group, and this is really important to put everyone agree on the same table. And I think that results because the tourism is an important blue economy sector. If we look to the numbers of the EU Blue Economy report, the blue economy generates more than 28 billion GVA in 2019 and 0.7 million jobs, and more of 80% of these jobs were in the Mediterranean. So this is a really important sector, blue economy sector. So we are going to create synergies between the WestMed initiatives, member states, share experience and also good practice. And try also to find some solutions to have a sustainable tourism that respect the environment and also the marine ecosystems. This year, the WestMed initiative will organize a hackathon event in October in Portugal. And we believe this event, this hackathon model, will be important to respond some of our needs and the needs of the stakeholders. And this is why we are working with the assistance mechanism to have parallel sessions to discuss other sectors like skills, careers, sustainable tourism, green shipping and ports, aquaculture clusters, and also offshore renewable energy. So we had the example of last year, this year, our ocean conference held in Athens last April, the WestMed initiative, with the support of the system mechanism, organized a side event with a focus on green shipping and sustainable coastal tourism. And in this side event, there was 3 ongoing projects were showcased as a successful examples for cooperation across the sea basin, and it was regarding the green ship and decarbonization, and also maritime transportations. So, like I said, I think, and responding to your question, I think that each basin has a specific challenge, and we must address them individually, but I also think that we need to work more together. Let me just add something, and I think we need to communicate the results in a better way, and I think that is also a lack of our work. We are doing so much work, we are having so much results, and we are not communicate these results well, from my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Marisa. I don't know now, Andreas or Grigore? Grigore.
Thank you. So I think the challenges that we have is that transforming the challenges into opportunities is, let's say, is the key for all our sea basin strategies. And I think the 3 C's for the sea basin strategies are the cooperation, collaboration, and comprehensive stakeholders engagement. And I think we heard these words a lot of times today. So I think all of the participants at the panel mentioned, and they are open to more cooperation, more collaboration and engagement within sea basin strategies. And as a way forward, maybe there is space and room for launching of an informal cross-sea basin group to convene annually within the framework of the European Maritime Day, not just as panel speakers, but maybe more a technical, a working decision-making group within all the sea basin strategies. That will, I hope it will enhance policy dialogue and will foster cooperation across the sea basin strategies. And it also will provide a valuable opportunity to align the funding mechanism, the pragmatic initiatives, and we can, of course, exchange, because we have interesting projects everywhere in all sea basin strategies, and we can learn from each other, adapt, and put it in action in other places, countries, activities. And maybe another tool or another mechanism would be the participation of the Black Sea region, potentially as observers, in other sea basin steering committees or group meetings to enhance the collaboration, maybe on some common projects, common initiatives, common activities that will bring together all the sea basin strategies. And of course, what is very important is the engagement with all the stakeholders. As you mentioned, of course, the private sector, non-government organization, local authorities is crucial for the success of our initiatives and activities that we are targeting. And of course, international cooperation is key, because I see that oceans and seas are international. So, and it's not only about the, it's not country specific and it's not basin specific. So I think sooner or later we will have one sea basin that will come from the Black Sea going around Europe that will, let's say, end somewhere in the Baltic Sea, somewhere there. So it's going to be one big strategy that will bring all us together. So that would be some of the tools that we want to put in place to improve the cooperation and collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was listening very carefully, and I'm on the way at the end to announce something that is very much attuned to what you're suggesting. But before that, we go to Andreas.
Thank you. Just picking up on the last thing, I'm just remembering that some years ago we spoke about a blue belt. I don't know what happened to that, but maybe we should discuss that with the new commission. We would like to have a blue belt. So that's very much connecting the maritime domain of Europe. Anyway, looking at the challenges and in a sea basin view, I mean, we already can see that when you start to install wind power and all these things, there's a lot of blue economy that's getting generated. We've seen that in Denmark. It's a fantastic driver for blue economy, works, businesses, all kind of things. But we already now also see a lot of challenges. If I should start with just one, I think they're all equally important. But skills, everybody talks about skills. And I have this fear that we are not realizing how big a change we are looking into. The maritime domain, and in particular shipping, have had two technology jumps in the history. One was going from wind power to engine power, and the other was containerization. These two jumps completely changed the way shipping is operating, completely. And I would claim that if you combine the green transition with digital technology, then we're facing a jump. It is a big, big game changer. We already see some of it now, remote control vessels. And then thinking about skills, we have no training program for operators of remote controlled vessels. We have no seafarers that are trained to use artificial intelligence, and so on and so forth. The word energy efficiency is not included in the EU directive/SCCW convention. Neither is resilient operation. And these are all the things that we have to address. So my point is we should be very careful not to sort of continue to lag behind when we're talking about skills. By sort of, okay, now we need to train everybody for methanol, and then a year from now we need to train everybody for ammonia, and so on. But we have to sit down and have a strategic approach and say, what is it that we need? And I just mentioned one other example that we have been discussing again and again with the industry, is that if you look at the people you take on board a ship that installs wind turbines on the ocean bed, we have no training for these people. We are looking into the old toolbox. Okay, we have a marine engineer, we have a captain, and then we have an AB and a motorman. So how can we combine this? Or maybe we should combine it with a blacksmith. But we don't have a person that is actually trained to do this job. It's just one example. So we need to get into in working mode, and then with the focus to the future. And well, training and education is very close to my heart. I used to work with that way back. So CMARC, many people in CMARC knows that. Anyway, but so training and skills and competences for the future is really, really important. Another thing which in my mind is really, really going to challenge us as authorities and companies, that's the phrase resilience. And you mentioned that, Charlina. Protection of infrastructure, pipelines, power lines, grids, and data. But it's not only about protecting hardware. If you look again in a sea basin thinking, we have already seen now that that spoofing that is sort of disturbing the GPS signal so that your position is wrong, that's a common thing now. The airline industry experienced that. They use inertial navigation, so when they go from Europe to Asia, because GPS is out of order. But we see that also we can compensate right now with the differential GPS. But if differential GPS is jammed, we have no backup. This is one example. So resilient PNC, that's positioning, navigation, and timing, is something that we also need to work together. So my point is that we also need to have a very sort of thorough, analytic, and strategic approach to ensure that the maritime domain, with all these new kind of activities that we're going to establish in the seabed, is going to be resilient. Resilient towards the geopolitical tensions and all kind of attacks, but also resilient to fallouts of different kinds. We have seen black swans coming one after another the past 5 years, yeah? And if anybody thinks, oh, okay, that's done. No, we are living in I just heard a professor from MIT say, it's a new abnormal that we're living in, yeah? There's a new abnormal, so we just have to think about resilience. So if I should choose two biggest challenges, skills and resilience. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Being strategic, analyzing from upfront so that we are prepared when it comes, being anticipatory. Just to recall that for this college that is to an end now, one of the novelties was to have the foresight experience in management embedded into the collegial work. So every year we have a foresight report that is trying to see where the challenges evolve, in what direction, how they challenge us as European Union, what are we bound to do in terms of responses and so on. So the world that we are living is becoming more and more complicated, and that brings us, new impetus of creativity of how to describe it. The new abnormal, the new normal. So it only tells us how complex the world is and how difficult the world will be for these ones that are normally occupying this room, the future generation. We have a couple of minutes for questions from the floor. I had the choice to potentially give the floor for a short statement at the end. We might manage, but I really probably will opt out for the audience to ask questions, to guide us what to do next, how the European Union can help these processes, how we can really make a Sea Basin strategy approach working, pragmatic, to the taste of all of you. So anyone that would like to ask a question to our distinguished panel, also to me, it's freedom in the first instance. Anyone that would like to ask a question, please. Yes, please present yourself. I don't know about, yes, and then we have two questions, but we need a mic, so who is going to help us? Probably you can try and speak up, huh? Try. Though for the online listeners, it will be more difficult. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Floris. I work for a Dutch private foundation. The main question that I have, and thanks for the initiatives, is are we doing enough? We heard the worries of the mayor of Svendborg about the health of the oceans. And we also have a lot of blue growth plans. How do they go hand in hand? And how can we make sure that if we have a next conference, the mayor is actually saying, I'm actually very hopeful. I'm not worried anymore about the sickness of the oceans, but we are on a path of restoration.
Thank you very much. Excellent question. We are asking this question, as citizens, as part of the administration, as, teaching our new generation. Anyone that would like to answer this question? Are we doing enough? Are we future resilient from this perspective? I see, Grigore. Please.
Well, to be honest, right, if you ask a politician, of course it's not enough and we have to do more. However, today I'm not able to tell you if we are doing enough or not. So for that we need more knowledge and more research. We understand that the graph is going like this, and we don't know yet if we are on the curve to change the situation. And for that we would need more research and knowledge to understand where we stand now. And of course, I'm not able to tell you if by the next year, in a year, we will be able to change drastically or dramatically the situation. However, we can put all the effort in it. I remember myself when I was 8 or 9 years old, and I was in a club. It was a environmental science club, and the television came. I'm coming from a small town in Moldova, and the television came, and we were put like at stand, and we've been asked, how much time do you think it will take to because it was in 86, 87, it was the first time when in Soviet Union they were starting asking questions about environmental things, about climate change, and we've been asked, how long do you think it will take us to change the pattern, to change the policy? And I, as a kid, said, it will take us 2 weeks. And here we stand now, and it didn't change much. But the important thing is to understand where we stand now, put some effort in research to understand where we need to move tomorrow, or where we need to be tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric?
Yes, of course we cannot reply to are we doing enough, but I clearly think, and I'm sure that we are doing our best. And we are all working, and it's what we say this morning, we are all working towards constructive and concrete solutions to climate change, loss of biodiversity, and to act both at the European, international and national levels. And if I see one example, I was in IMO last summer. IMO is usually seen as, it's an international maritime organization, as not very proactive, not very efficient at the international level. Well, it's not so easy to act globally. And we were discussing a roadmap towards decarbonization. And a lot of countries told me that we will never achieve that. But we did it towards 2050 with all the landmarks that we wanted, actually. We had a discussion at the end whether it was 2050 or 2051. Well, I guess that was not so important, but we did it. So that means that we are acting at the global level. We are doing a lot of things also at the European level with all the directives that have been put into force. Maybe we can communicate more of that and maybe make them more visible. But I'm quite confident that we are aware and conscious about what needs to be done, and we are doing it, and we are taking this path. So I want really to be also confident in the future, because if you are not confident in the future, you cannot act. And so we want to act, so because we think that we may be useful, we may be efficient in what we are doing.
Thank you very much. If I can also jump in, it's not an easy question, because we can be very bold and demanding in our objectives. But then it comes reality. Then we have all the businesses that have to change, all society that has to transform, and it takes time. And we've seen on many occasions, so even this college started with the Green Deal, that was the first ever initiative with such a comprehensive approach towards sustainability. And it was announced on the first week of the mandate of this college. Bold strategies, bold actions, a lot of financing going there. But we see that without being inclusive and accompanying the transformation, we might be losing track. It might turn from high ambition to, protests in the streets. So we have to be extremely pragmatic. We have to be realistic. We have to be leading by example. And we have to be with full understanding of what it takes for everybody that needs to change. So inclusiveness of the transformation, accompanying the transformation, turns out to be essential. And then, so that's why we have all this funding that is there, because we don't want the farmers to feel like the victims of the transformation. We want them on board, because even in a country that is with such a developed civil society like the Netherlands, for example, they're struggling with this. Change is not easy, but we have to do it because we have a contract with our kids, with the future generation. And it takes from everyone. Just take the consumption patterns. So I agree, we have to be demanding in the objectives, in our strategies, and we have to have very pragmatic and realistic planning, because it can be doomed to failure, any good strategy, because of not taking on board the reality. And the second point that I would like to make is about the international dimension. Europe can do a lot, but at the moment Europe is generating very little part of the CO2 emissions that are bringing all this change that goes down to tipping points, cascading to events that we have not expected in the past. And what we are doing now, and I will make a publicity of the next UN Ocean Conference that will happen in Nice, in France. I'm really happy that our French partners are willing to make quite a nice European swirl around of this event. And for this one, we are trying to give very important milestones of evolution, or I don't dare saying revolution internationally. One of the deliverables that we want to make, and we are working extremely hard, is to ratify the High Seas Treaty. Because what are we doing there? So we have a treaty, signatures enough, but it is not in force. So we are on the good track, and we are all here to watch out that all the member states are going to have their ratification processes done so that we can deliver the 60 ratification instruments that are necessary to have the entry into force as of 1st of January 2025. Concrete as it can be. We are also trying knowledge, research, knowing more, filling the knowledge gaps. Absolutely essential. But we need to marry the science interface with the interface of the policymakers. Otherwise, we cannot responsibilize them to the discoveries and knowledge that the science generates. So that's why we are, France and the European Union in general, we are trying to create intergovernmental panel, the same one as for climate change. Everybody knows about IPCC. We are trying to put together the science for ocean and the decision-making for ocean in one constellation so that we can have this same process for climate change for the ocean. And we call it IPOS, Intergovernmental Panel for Ocean Sustainability. Whether we are going to manage it, we hope so. So this is the way we will. This is the way we're going step by step with concrete international efforts, because only Europe can do a lot, and we are leading by example, but we can't do it all. So we have one more question. Please take the floor.
Yeah, good morning. My name is Gunnar, and I'm from an SME called C-Topic, a French-German one, and I feel as a European citizen. So I would like to pick up some keywords which were dropped in the panel discussion. So one was world becomes complicated and complex, and I think it's just we get more aware of complexity, but the nature and the world we are living in is as complex as it has been in Stone Ages. And but the other issue is being complicated, and seeing from, and then I come to my question, seeing from an SME perspective, these are rules and overhead, and programs are more and more targeted than have been before. That means that if you have smart ideas which could become innovative, you cannot get funds for it because you always have to be compliant to the objectives of the call. That's the wording. Because only things are funded which have been pre-thought and pre-programmed by Europe or some panels. And if you in between, then it does not work. The other point is, and this is really my question, which is complicated, are constraints and rules. And Europe and the participation of SMEs is more and more totally controlled. And it is not that SME people are, they are mistrust actually, that they try to cheat, but maybe they're erroneous with application of these rules. This is a little bit different. And my question is how, and that's the challenge, how could you reduce the administrative overhead which is increasing since the last decades in Europe, so that Europe and the participation of small private enterprise and people becomes more sexy. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think it's more question to Europe, but if someone wants to take the floor, only really seconds, if you want, because I'm watching the clock. So I can tell you that we are really trying to reduce the administrative burden. It can be at various levels. It can be at EU level, it can be at national level. I used to work for the structural funds, the big funds that are allocating money to infrastructure projects down to SMEs. And to be honest, many of the gold plating of the rules comes also at lower level than EU. And I would tell you what is the biggest issue here, to balance between accountability, because this is public funding. We should not forget that, because you as European citizen will be also demanding to know how this money is spent. Without the reporting, you would not be able to say that. So accountability is essential. And the other side, to be balanced, is to be straightforward, light on rules, and so on. So we never find the right balance. It's always difficult. But we are now in discussions for the new multi-annual financial perspective. That will probably be on the table, whether we're going to have a Blue Belt fund, Ocean Fund. So watch out, deliver your opinion, voice out your opinion for the future of Europe. We know the problem about the small SMEs that would like to have a straight way to funding. We will try our best, but guide us what concretely we can do. And yes, and at the same time remain accountable. It's not an easy question. So we are ending up here. Yes, Eric.
Yes, if I may. You know, I met the wind farm operators a couple of days ago. Simplification is a mantra everywhere, in every country. But when you speak with operators, what do they want? Of course, the wind farm operators, they want blue economy and developing of their activities to be eased, to be simpler. But others, and we as citizens, we want also ocean to be protected. We want also other activities to be protected, like fisheries at sea. So rules are there also to integrate complex issues. And the fact that we want protection, we want development, we want also social and employment activity. So all this together, we mean also, of course, we can simplify some rules, but we need also to integrate all these aspects, and so we need a framework for that. And if I may, to conclude on this, and on a very optimistic issue, I met you spoke about the champions, the blue economy champions, a bit earlier. I met the French 6 projects yesterday, and what I think very interesting is that some of them actually are working on marine spatial planning, on the way how to coordinate and more cooperate, but they are preparing the future for our activities on drones, on emerging activities, on sovereignty in the field of aquaculture. And all these projects are very, very interesting. And what I can see is that innovation is thrilling everywhere. So we have to be in capacity to accompany, to help them as state, as Europe. And I'm sure that with Charlina, with all my colleagues, it's one of our main tasks today. But they are there. So the solutions for tomorrow are prepared today. And when I meet all these startups, all these persons working on the solutions, I'm very proud of what we are doing now in Europe.
Thank you very much. And I promise that I come with an announcement. And it very much attunes with something that was said by the panel, wish to have more formalized discussion about sea basin strategies, about all of them at the same time, to have this type of cross-pollination, learning process between them, because many of the projects and challenges can be common. So that's why we suggest to have a formal discussion, so formal, informal, where is the limit, but to have every time when we have European Maritime Day, specific directors general level discussion on sea basin strategy. So that will start, that is starting today, and it will continue as a tradition first time in Cork. So that is our announcement. I think that it will be impossible in minus time to try and summarize everything. We said the 3 Cs. I will add another 4th C, communication. There is a lot of energy behind, a lot of things to consider. We have to be also extremely strategic, future-oriented, because when the challenge comes to fruition, it's too late. And we start from our academies where we are sitting today. Thank you very much for being active in listening and participating. Big applause to our panelists.